All right, so this is a middle of the month update. It's not quite the middle, but we're pretty much there. I mean, 14, 15, whatever. So one of my most recent videos was the Hello Sprites, a little demonstration of how to use the sprites in Fuselage. So I'm kind of in the tinkering, planning phases of Hello Tiles. Um, some people might be wondering why there isn't a demonstration of the text layer. And I know I've mentioned it before, but in short, basically the text layer is not really meant for the text that's going to be used in a game. The text that you might display in a game will be better suited to be displayed with the tile layers. So the text is really um, an output for the game engine itself. Maybe if the engine experiences a problem, error codes or something could be displayed to the screen, and if there's some problem loading something or decompressing something or memory issues or anything that the engine has trouble with that is detrimental should come out through the text display. So this isn't something that game developers will ideally be using. I mean, there's nothing stopping them from doing it, but there are better ways to display text. Plus, the text layer kind of generates small text for a game anyway, so nobody really has the eyes for that. So the text layers are probably going to be used for uh, system level stuff, and the tile layers will be used to display text, tile layers, backgrounds, HUDs, that kind of thing. Anything that you wouldn't use sprites or the pixies for, the tile layers will be used for. So that would be pretty much every other aspect of the game. So I'm thinking I want to do. I don't want to do something I've already done. I mean, I've already done like star fields and stuff like that with the tile layers. So I'm thinking maybe a recreation of a popular platformer, something like Metroid or Castlevania. Just a little demo to demonstrate how it works. Have a couple of different layers: a foreground layer, a playfield layer, and then a background layer, and maybe another layer for the score and lives and stuff. Not that I'm going to develop a full game, just something to demonstrate what it would look like. And I'm not going to use a whole lot of tiles to demonstrate it, but still haven't really decided finally what I'm going to do. But it's going to be something like that, I think, because even though I could show my Starfield demo as the demonstration for the tile layers, I think just a bunch of stars that are all the same really doesn't show off the tile layer all that well. I mean, I think people want to see the tile layer as it would really be used in a game and not just a simple demonstration of how the API works, which is really ultimately what I'm trying to show anyways, so it probably doesn't have to be that fancy. But I think if we're really going to show how this thing can be employed in a game, we want to do something that someone might actually use in a game. And I think making a simple platformer with a sprite that jumps around, climbs up and down ladders and stairs, and maybe has a couple of different frames of animation. Nothing fancy, just enough to show the sprites and tiles interacting with each other. Now, I've already shown the little Starfield demo with the starship sprites that fly around in the starfields, and I could release the source code to that for somebody who wanted to see how I did it, but I just don't feel it's going to properly demonstrate how the tile layers work. Plus, honestly, as I look at the code, not necessarily the code for the tile layers themselves, because that's not even close to done, but the code for that demo, it's pretty bad. So, well, not really bad. It's sloppy. I mean, it was just kind of haphazardly thrown together, and it doesn't really make a good demonstration. So, I'm kind of hesitant to release that unless somebody really wants to see it. I mean, I don't really have a problem sharing it, but I hate for that to be the prime example of how this API is supposed to be used. Also, keep in mind that nothing is set in stone. By the time I'm at version 2 or 3, I may have completely revamped everything about all of these. So, if you're building an application using Fuselage, which I wouldn't do if I were you, but I do encourage people who are interested in it to follow along as it develops and don't get too reliant on how the API is laid out right now because it's still in the alpha, or as I call it, the anus stage, building from the bottom up. So if you wanted to build a game with this, you could, but it's still just experimental right now. And when I show how the tile layers work, that pretty much will be how the final product will work. Under the hood, that's all going to change. And the API will probably be tweaked a little bit, improved. There will be features added. Some of the function calls may change. Their actual verbiage might change, or even the names of them could change. Or I could add new ones. That's probably more likely going to happen. Is that more advanced versions of the same functions will be added. I can't see completely replacing some of the older ones or changing them too much, but I can't guarantee future versions will be fully compatible with the version as it is right now because everything's still a work in progress. So, it seems like I've been a little silent lately. It's not because I've not been doing things, it's just that I kind of hop around from aspect to aspect of things. I'm still working on GDMF, still working on the pixie layers, still trying to finalize the tile layers, and of course, I'm trying to plan out this tile demonstration thing. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. Plus, I think I should probably say that I've been playing a lot of games lately, and that takes away time from working on Fuselage. Really, I'm loving Expedition 33, and I really like the Oblivion remake. So there is going to be a bunch of time spent in those. And of course, if I'm busy playing those, then I can't be working on Fuselage. And, say, it's one of them things where this is a hobby, this is a side project, a passion project, something I do without any kind of obligation to anyone or anything. There's no organization to answer to. I don't have a boss, nothing like that. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a lifelong project. So whether I get it done 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or never, I mean, really, who's going to complain but me? Now, anyone who's interested in the project, I openly encourage you to reach out to me and say, hey, I really like what you're doing, so let's talk. And yeah, hit me up. We can always collaborate on ideas. If you do want to build a game, not necessarily with Fuselage, but maybe with parts of it, I'm totally okay with that. If you have ideas that you would like to see implemented, or if you want to use mine to implement some of your ideas, then hey, that's you don't even necessarily need my permission. This is I don't even know how much more open source I could make this. I really do not care about credit or locking it down. Anything I develop is basically for the love of the hobby. So if it can teach someone else, or maybe even create an avenue where somebody could look at it and say, hey, you know what, you've got a lot to learn too, and then they teach me something, it's all a win as far as I'm concerned. So, I can't promise anything will be done soon, but there are things in the works. Lots of things in the works. In fact, the Pixies are a work in progress. Mode 0 and Mode 255 are really the two biggest ones. Mode 0 is an indexed VGA-like mode that is packed. I don't really want to get into the details of that, but I've really got some cool things in the works with Mode 0. And Mode 255 is basically the same thing, but it's true color, including an alpha channel, and it's packed in a different way. Again, I don't really want to get into details, but I know it's brilliant because ChatGPT told me it's brilliant, and, actually that's how I know it's probably really stupid. Because if there's anything I've learned about ChatGPT is when you run your ideas by it, it always thinks they're brilliant. So, I will say this, the prototype that I'm working on with the pixie layers right now doesn't really save a lot of space over PNG. In some cases, the files actually end up bigger as a pixie than they do as a PNG. Sometimes they're much smaller, but it just really depends on the use case. Ultimately, though, I want to at least always match PNG as far as size, and I definitely want to try to always beat it as far as size. Now, it is lossless, unlike JPEG, so PNG has that going for it. But unlike, or Pixies have that going for it. Unlike PNG, though, the idea of a Pixie is they are embedded in the code of your application, so there are no external files that can either get corrupted, lost, or manipulated by, players or whatever. I mean, this isn't to say that I'm completely against mods or modifications to programs, but I think external graphic files that are just easily extracted from a games folder are kind of sloppy and amateurish, and that's just my own personal opinion. You may feel differently about it, that's fine. But the idea with Fuselage is that all of the assets are going to be tightly baked into the application. And I know that might turn some people off because they like their projects to be modder friendly. But hey, I mean, if you really want it to be modder friendly, I don't know how much more modder friendly you can be than open source. So if that really is important to you, just release the source code to your application. Somebody can replace the application assets directly in the source code. All of the tools will be available, so there's really no excuse not to do it that way if that's what you want to do. But right now, Pixies have a long way to go because, first of all, I only have two of the mini modes implemented. It won't have the missile Turing complete features in version 1, so that's a long way off. That's really more on the virtual machine side of the development roadmap than it is on the format definition side. Right now, I'm just trying to get a super basic image packing format complete, and there's some interesting things going on there, but I have a lot of work to do. GDMF will be my framework, graphic display management framework. It will handle Windows input, full screen, windowed mode. Actually, most games will be designed to be played full screen. I've got something in mind very unique for that, which makes it really difficult for me to rely on things like Raylib or GLFW because they do things in a specific way that is kind of generic. Don't mean that in a bad way. It's kind of general purpose. Anybody could take those frameworks and develop an application or game with them, and it covers all of the use cases. But I have special requirements for Fuselage, and even though I can make those things happen using other frameworks, I also get the other baggage that comes with those frameworks, and I don't necessarily want that included in Fuselage. So, in order for me to add the features that I do want and have them be part of the framework like native, and also eliminate all the stuff that I don't need, I found it's just better to implement my own. Of course, this is more work, means reinventing the wheel. But hey, at least now I get to make the wheel whatever color, size, and shape that I want. I don't have to worry about having people who use this project rely on the dependencies of others. I mean, I've actually had people want to play with Fuselage, but they were apprehensive about downloading Raylib, and I'm like, why? It's a very popular library. They're like, yeah, but I don't trust it. And I'm like, what's not to trust? Well, it's on GitHub. Oh my God. GitHub, I mean, really? So you're going to not trust something simply because it's on a public repository? I mean, if that's the case, then I think you should probably stay away from all open source software. But yeah, it's not even really on topic, but it's just that for, I guess you could say, simplicity, one of the goals of Fuselage is to have as few or no dependencies outside of what's provided by each individual host system. So naturally, of course, if you're building an application for macOS, you're going to have to use some of the tools and requirements that macOS requires. And of course, I'm doing things on Linux using Wayland, so there will be some requirements there. And of course, Windows has its own requirements, but all of those should be available to the developer that's working with each of those systems. And on top of that, in the long enough term, I don't think it will be necessary for developers to completely build Fuselage from source. It is my goal to have a tool where they can just build the game and then link it to the executable on the target system. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We've got to learn to crawl before we can walk, and we've got to build the horse before we can raise the carriage and all that. So, if I have time to get the tile layer demonstration done, you should expect that this month maybe. If I don't pry myself away from Oblivion and Expedition 33, it could be a little longer than the rest of this month before you see that, but I won't leave you hanging for long. Just watch this space, and you should see something here soon. If you have questions, of course, you know what to do. If you want to get notified when more updates come around, there's probably some way you can do that, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. And in the meantime, I recommend drinking more beer, playing more games, eating more sausage, having more fun, and try to stay alive. See ya.